Welcome back, everybody, to Shoot to Shit. As always, your boy Lunasty. Joining me today is James Ellsworth. James, how's it going, man?
I'm good, brother. I like the name of the show.
I appreciate it. Yeah, my original thought for this is, meeting in person and actually sitting on a toilet. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, shoot.
I'm not. I'm sitting on the.
Yeah. Well, first off, man, happy belated birthday. Your birthday was what, a little over a week ago?
Yeah, last Friday, the 11th. Yeah, it's about 8 days ago, and I feel 8 days older than I did 8 days ago. So
yeah. Well, Father Time hasn't been great to me. You wouldn't be able to tell it, but you're about 5 years older than me.
Oh, really? Well,
yeah.
It's the mustache. Maybe it's just the
It
mustache.
Yeah.
Shave that, you'll probably look, a little younger.
I grew it for November, and then I don't know, I think it was a lazy thing, but we'll get into your training and everything here in a second. But as you know, I'm affiliated with, I'm one of the admin for Walmart We Love Wrestling. And our biggest thing, whenever we talk to a wrestler and stuff is origins and stuff. So we want to know what got you into loving the sport of professional wrestling.
Man, I've just been watching it since I was 4 or 5 years old, back in 88, 89, when the Macho Man was on top until he lost to Hogan. Yeah, man, back then I'd watch WWF when I could. I'd watch NWA. I remember seeing the Rock and Roll Express, and I was big fans of them. But yeah, in the late 80s, man, I started as a very young kid watching wrestling and just fell in love with it immediately.
Yeah. Yeah, that happens a lot, because same thing with us, we watched it with our parents, grandparents, and it just became a thing. And I don't think I shared this with you, but the viewers know from previous podcasts that I've done that I was an indie guy for about 5 years, and
cool.
got to train by a couple guys in Texas, and it was a good time. So I guess leading into that, how did you find out about how you can train to be a wrestler, and how did that come about?
Well, here at Maryland, back in 2002 is when I started training. But before that, I was going to indie shows, and they'd have posters around my neighborhood and everything. So I'd go check out the shows, and I found out they had a wrestling school that was ran by Axel Rotten. Well, he's one of the head trainers. He wasn't the owner of the school, but he was one of the head trainers. I knew Axel Rotten from ECW, and I was like, man, that's what I got to do. I got to train with somebody that made a name for himself in wrestling.
Yeah.
Because, and like till this day, man, I tell anyone that wants to get into wrestling to get trained by someone that has a name, that's been around the world, that's done this professionally and did a good job at it and made a good living at it. Because that's what you want to do. You want to train with the best and somebody that's been there and done that. So luckily, I think my daughter's sneaking in here. But luckily, I found Axel Rodden, who's a Baltimore native just like myself, and I was able to, once I graduated high school, I was able to go to that wrestling school.
Yeah, and you brought up, Axel Rotten, ECW. For the people that are a little confused out there, whenever you get trained by a hardcore wrestler, a lot of times they come out and say that they had to learn to actually wrestle first, and they just got paid more doing this hardcore stuff. So if you could give us a little insight on what it was like training with Axel Rotten.
Well, yeah, Axel was known for the hardcore stuff because that's what made him famous. That's what got him over. That's how he made a name for himself. But before he did any of that, he was in WCW wrestling. Not a big name there or anything, but he was there for a cup of coffee wrestling. He wrestled with Lawler in Memphis for Lawler's promotion, and he did some cool stuff. Traveled the world before he ever got to ECW and really learned his craft. He was trained by Joey Maggs, who was an enhancement guy in WCW, so he knew how to work it. He was very smart. It's just, wrestling's wrestling, and we all, fans know the wrestlers from when they were popular. Why were they popular? Axel was popular from the hardcore stuff, so that's how everybody knew him. But he really did have an understanding and an intelligence for wrestling. Till this day, I've never seen. Top 5 best brains I've ever been around. I've been very fortunate, been around a lot of everybody now, but yeah, he was so smart, and I'm trying to make people understand that when I do these interviews, how just lucky I am to be around a guy that smart about wrestling.
Yeah. And did that, I guess, hardcore environment inspire some of your stuff with CZW?
No, not at all. it's funny because like people read that I was in CZW. I was only there. I had a couple matches there. Didn't do anything hardcore. Just I rode up there with a guy by the name of Ruckus, who was very popular on the indies in the mid to late 2000s, and he's just a good friend of mine. And also lives in Baltimore. So I'd travel to shows with him, and he got me on CZW a few times. It was never my like. I never wanted to be a hardcore guy. Like I kind of knew my role. I'm small. I got to be, you know, I got to sell. I got to be funny. I got to be entertaining. I got to do a lot on the entertainment side and
Yeah.
selling side to ever get noticed, because you know I'm just not that GQ looking dude. I'm not a big guy. I'm not a guy that they're going to look at right away and go, we need to sign him. So yeah, like nothing against the hardcore stuff. There's a time and a place for it, but that was never my personal thing.
Yeah, I'm the same exact way. So, like I said, you can't tell from here, but I'm only 5'5". So going out
Wow.
there, yeah, immediately you're the smaller guy, so you're automatically placed as a face. It's a lot funnier and a lot fun, I guess, to be a heel. And we'll get into some of your heel stuff later. But it's you're naturally a baby face with your size, you know, and it's just it comes with the territory and stuff. So we can get into, I guess, your time as, you know, enhancement talent Rosebud. So I have a buddy who did a few dark matches for WWE, and I guess he's taking a social media, I guess, hiatus right now. So I didn't really get to talk to him that often. So
Good for him.
my question is, so his name is Andy, and his work name was Awesome Andy. Whenever he debuted, I guess for these dark matches, they packaged him as Rob Cabildo. So I was wondering, whenever you got put on TV, did they pitch your name, or did you have a say in coming up with how you're going to be introduced in WWE?
Well, when you're an enhancement talent, they just give you any name they feel like giving. They asked me what my name was, and I said, well, my first name is James and my middle name's Ellsworth. And I was like, that sounds like a name an enhancement talent would use. And they're like, oh, yeah, we'll just use that.
Yeah.
Like, it was that quick. Like, when you're an enhancement
Okay.
talent, you're not a star, you're not signed, you're not anything really important to them. So they just give you whatever name they feel like getting you, because your like name on the indies, like my name on the indies was Pretty Jimmy Dream, so I couldn't use that name on television. It's got to sound generic, and it's got to sound like, because your purpose is not. It's funny because when I say this, but your purpose is not to get over. Your purpose is to be there and help get the other guy over. It's a part of their process. The superstar that you're putting over, it's part of their process. You
Correct.
have really virtually nothing to do with it.
Yeah. So, like I said, that's some good insight on how that came about. What had you come up with Jimmy Dream, if you don't mind me asking?
I was on the indies. Jimmy's, like my name's James. Everybody calls me Jimmy, and to be a wrestler was my dream. So I just kind of put the two together, Jimmy Dream, and the Pretty thing came on later when I was in a tag team called Pretty Ugly. I was Pretty Jimmy, and my partner was Adam Ugly, and together we were Pretty Ugly, and that was just a fun gimmick we did on the indies that I really think was an awesome gimmick and before its time, and could have got over anywhere, in my humble opinion.
Yeah. And so when you bring up the enhancement talent and having to make other people look good, essentially, you had cut that Any Man with Two Hands promo. How was that pitched? And was that supposed to be like what led to like the maybe to get these hands or whatever, or were they setting something up with you?
What was I going to say? Well, it's like, Leah, no. You got to yell at my daughter real quick. No.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, my fiance will handle that. But yeah, no, like the Anime with Two Hands with Fighting Chance. Like I came up with that on my own because I knew I was hitting Strowman twice. And I asked the writer, Jimmy Jacobs, at the time, who I love and think he was an awesome writer. I said, Can I say this line? Because I know I'm hitting him twice. And the line's kind of from Rocky V, but with my own little mix. Like in Rocky V, he goes, I figure if anybody has two hands, they got a chance. So I added the rest of it to that. Any man with two hands has a fighting chance. So it's just one of those things that I popped in my head, and I knew I was hitting him twice. So I was like, I got to say this line. It sounds really cool, and it goes with the promo that's written for me.
Oh, that's awesome. And I had the pleasure of meeting Jimmy a couple of times. He's a great guy, and we had Zach Gowen on not too long ago, and he has some really good stories. Do you have anything good as far as any backstage stories with Jimmy Jacobs?
Well, like I said, well, that's my best ones when we first got to get together with that. But it's funny, I saw Jimmy a few weeks after that. We did the Strowman thing, and Vince had kind of hinted to me that he was going to sign me, but I hadn't heard from him in a few weeks. And I saw Jimmy in an indie show, and while he was still right for WWE, he was just there to hang out with one of his friends that were working on the show. And I said, Jimmy, man, like, I hope I hear from him. He goes, oh yeah, you're gonna hear from him. Don't worry, man. He's like, he put me at ease. He put my mind at ease. He's like, you're gonna hear from him. You're gonna do good stuff. And he's like, don't worry, don't worry. And I swear, it was like 2 weeks after that, I got a call to come to SmackDown, and Jimmy was like, see, I told you, man. I just saw you a couple of weeks ago. I told you, man. You're gonna do great. You know how like he thought, you're gonna do great. You're gonna do a great job here, man. This is awesome. And it's he was cool, man. Like I think he's right for Impact now, or helping Impact produce or whatever it is. But he's a very smart guy, and I enjoyed my time around him. Hopefully, I'll see him again here soon.
Yeah, nice. And now that you mentioned Rocky, it's really cool. You got a Rocky-like story coming in, getting demolished, and bringing you into SmackDown. And your stuff was really entertaining with Ambrose and Styles and stuff. So who pitched you going heel and teaming you with Carmella?
Carmella pitched it. It was her. I guess her and the girls were talking in the locker room one day, like, oh, I wonder what they're going to do with Ellsworth next. What if he, like, one of the girls said, what if they put him with one of us? And Carmella goes, I'm not doing anything. Like, I'm going to pitch that idea. And she pitched it, and Vince loved it. Like, Vince loves Carmella, like, and he should. Like, she's awesome. She's great for television, always looks great, always dresses great, always talks great, always reinvents herself. Like, very smart girl. Yeah. And she wasn't doing much before she pitched the idea with me, and ever since then, man, she's been knocking it out. And I really thought we had more legs with me as a babyface, because I was a babyface like maybe 4 or 5 months.
Yeah.
Before the Carmella thing, but I was very happy to work with Carmella and help her, progress with television, and boy did it. It really helped progress her, and she's doing an awesome job, and I'm very happy for her.
Yeah. So you being a lifelong fan, somebody who got in the business loving wrestling, I know for the most part, whenever you get pitched stuff in WWE, you do it. But for you being a wrestler and a manager, what part did you love doing more in WWE?
Man, I just, I like telling the story on the microphone, man. Like, anytime they gave me the mic, I was so like, oh man, they're letting me talk. Like, because television time, it's not cheap. So if they're letting you talk, and they let me talk every single week pretty much, I was like, man, they really count on me to get these stories over, because they're giving me the mic every week. So, and I don't know, man, like, just being a kid, like, watching guys cut promos like Rick Rude and stuff like that, you're like, you picture that being you. Like, that's what I would do. Just talk a bunch of crap, get a bunch of people mad, and entertain. Yeah. And so anytime they let me do that, I just had such a blast with it. Like, with just episodes where I love to wrestle. I love to perform in the ring. It's so much fun. Like, to me, the best form of entertainment is using the art form of wrestling to entertaining. So I love having matches because it's fun. But there's just something about having that microphone in front of millions of people watching at home and thousands in attendance that I excelled at. I loved it. I just embraced it. And, it's one of those things that I just saw myself doing when I was a kid that I got to do. So anytime I got to do that was definitely my favorite part.
Yeah, speaking of embracing it, how did you embrace that heat you guys got for that Money in the Bank? First one, where you got the briefcase, yeah.
Well, it's awesome. Like, if you go back and watch that, when I grab it, the crowd pops. I think the crowd wouldn't be to grab it and, like, run away with it. Like, not give it to Carmella. I think they were like, what's he going to do with that?
Yeah.
And that would have been cool to go with that part of the story. But, on the other hand, giving it to Carmella, that's the heat. Like, I just took it from all the other girls and gave it to her. And we always knew we were going to do the second one. So we always knew we were going to get that heat. And I like, that day they had all the girls from WWE, Raw and SmackDown, like, tweet about it. And I would share their tweet and bury them back. Like, Bailey said something about it. I remember retweeting at Bailey, go hug yourself. Like, just stuff like that. So, like, I had fun with it, man. I loved working with the girls. They really care a lot about what they're doing, and they really want to do a good job. And I saw that when I was there, and I became close with a lot of them. And I missed a lot of them. And yeah, it was fun, man. It was that I had so much fun with that. Like 10 years from now, people are going to remember that. 20 years from now, people are going to remember that. So I know that was very important to my time there, because I'll always be remembered for that, you know. And 20 years from now, I could come back and try to steal it again. You don't know. It's just, so it was definitely a cool thing, and I'm grateful that I got to do such a memorable thing.
Yeah, and I loved the Oscar spot that you guys did when you came back. So now you went back to the Indies, and you're getting booked now is James Ellsworth.
Yeah.
As well. Yeah. So that's really good that they didn't trademark any of that, and you got to keep that.
Oh, it's my name. It's on my birth certificate.
It's
Can't
true.
do that.
James Ellsworth. No, that's awesome. So do you have any, off the top of your head, any road stories that you'd like to share? Stuff that just plain entertaining.
I'm trying to think of stuff I can share now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them, man. Like I remember one time I just did Madison Square Garden for the first time. Very fortunate to have a match there with Kurt Hawkins in December of 2016. And afterward, it was me, the American Alpha guys, Jason Jordan, Chad Gable, and Aiden English. I hardly ever knew any of those guys, but I jumped in a car with them to go to the airport.
Yeah.
And, like, we're in the car, and one of the fans come up and, you know, knock on the car door. Like, hey, man, hey. And like, I went down the window, and they're like, what are you doing? What are you doing? I knew the guy. Like, I knew, like, he was just a local friend from Maryland that drove up to New York.
Yeah.
I remember, like, they were, like, kind of, like, freaking out at first. But I remember, out of all those people that sold out the Garden that night, like, seeing a local fan from Maryland that had seen me wrestle 15 years prior to that to get to that point. It's like, man, you just did that, man. You just wrestled at the Garden.
That's awesome.
Like, while we're on the car in traffic, you know, like this guy that I knew. So that was pretty cool. You know, I rode with Mojo a little bit while I was there, Rhino a little bit while I was there. We just had fun. Like Shinsuke, when I'd go overseas, I'd hang out with him a lot. We went surfing in Hawaii. There's pictures of it on my Instagram. I just had a good time with everybody, man. Not a big partier or anything. Like, I went out drinking a few times with the boys, and you know, like anytime I saw Strowman, I'd buy him a shot, you know, out of respect for having my first match with him in WWE. So just nothing out of the ordinary, crazy. Just a good time with everyone.
Yeah. So Ed, you are a trained wrestler, good wrestler. You're a great wrestler. So if you were to be brought back to WWE, or say AEW, anybody today's current product, and actually have an actual match and not be, you know, now that you have a name, you're not going to be booked as, you know, an enhancement talent. If you can have an actual match with anybody today, who would it be?
Oh, it's a great question. I mean, I loved working with AJ, but I already got to do that. I'd like to have a back and forth with him, but my character didn't call for that. But man, like, Rich Swann's a good friend of mine. I like to have a match with him on TV. He's awesome. I'm happy for everything he's doing. He's been through a lot, and he's really got through it all and doing very well for himself. So probably him, just because I'm close, like that Baltimore connection, and we've always been so friendly to each other, so happy for each other. We've had some very good phone calls with each other on the phone. You know, it's not like we talk every day, but we do talk. It's I love you, brother, love you too, and you know, we've both been through a lot. You know, and he's such an outstanding wrestler, and that's why he's a champion somewhere. You know, it's because he's so good, and you know, him and I are pretty much the same size. Like, I'd like to have a match with him just to show a little bit of what I could do. Although the James Ellsworth character, like, going forward, I like to be like a Bobby Heenan, Jim Cornette, Jimmy Hart, more so a Bobby Heenan, where if the heat gets too hot, Bobby could have a match.
Yeah.
Like, that's, to me, like, if I wrestle every week, it gets kind of, you know, just repetitive after a while. But if I'm just, you know, being a heater for somebody, a manager, like I was for Carmella, every now and then, like when I was at Carmella, every now and then I would wrestle. But when I did wrestle, I wrestled Becky Lynch, or I'd wrestle Asuka, or wrestled John Cena. Like, you know, it was just, I was wrestling really awesome, popular people. You know, and so I really enjoy doing that. But I do, like I said earlier, like wrestling, and it would be Rich Swann for sure.
Awesome. Yeah. So As we talked before, we will definitely get together. I will hit you up so we can have something longer. But just so you can make your commitments today, this will probably air by the time your stuff is done. So hopefully that goes well. I want to wish you well on that. But for everybody out there, y'all need to hit up James Ellsworth on Twitter at Real James Ellsworth. Got him on Insta as James Ellsworth Wrestling. Did I get that right? Yep.
Yeah, the Twitter's at Real Ellsworth, not Real James Ellsworth, at Real Ellsworth. No James in there.
Oh, Real
But
Ellsworth.
Instagram is
Okay,
James
yeah.
Ellsworth
So Twitter.
Wrestling, so you did get that right.
Nice. We got you on Cameo as well. So cameo.com / James Ellsworth. And please guys, for serious inquiries, you got bookellsworth@gmail.com. If anything else, just hit him up on social media. He's really great at answering stuff. YouTube, James Ellsworth as well. And do you have anything on Pro Wrestling Tees? Anything else?
So like the YouTube, I haven't really gotten into. I think 2021, that's one of the goals of mine. It's like get on the YouTube stuff, get on the Twitch stuff. But I want to come up with some creative, fun content. I don't want to be like everyone else, just playing video games and just, I'm not like a hot girl that can show off while they're playing games and have fun with it. Like
we gotta work.
I gotta figure out something entertaining to do. I have a couple of projects I'm working on. I want to be different, man. I don't want to give people the same old stuff that everybody else is giving them. There's nothing wrong with that. I just want to be different. There you have it. And Gillberg, everyone knows he just had a heart attack, and I'm helping him out. Started to GoFundMe for his family, his wife, and him. You can find that at gofundme.com and just search Gillberg, and that'll pop up. Every donation counts. Every donation matters, and we appreciate all of it.
All of it. And before I let you go, I apologize, but you just made me remember something. I had some questions given to me by a few people, and I guess I skipped it on the dream match portion. But when you said the goals of 2021 was the YouTube, like I said, I was like, how did I skip that? So last question, I apologize. Is there any milestone left that you want to knock out before your career is over?
Man, that's such a good question, because I did a lot that I wanted to do. Like WrestleMania was always on my brain, and I did it. Wrestling for the WWE title was always on my brain, and I did it. Royal Rumble is my favorite pay-per-view. Always wanted to be a part of that, and did it. Madison Square Garden. I think a surprise entrant in the Royal Rumble some year. I've already been in the Royal Rumble, but just to be that surprise entrant where people haven't seen me in a while, I think people would. What would people want to see? Either that, or something with R-Truth and I would be hilarious, I think, and people would like that. So something like that, man. Just something where my character belongs in that position, and I know it's going to work for everybody. So, cameo appearance for WWE like that is left on my bucket list for sure. Okay.
Great answer. So, once again, like I said, thank you so much, James Ellsworth. Like I said, we'll definitely get together and have a longer session. I appreciate you, man.
Yeah, man. Thank you very much. Appreciate you. God bless.
God bless.